What's an obvious sign someone's American? Hey, how are ya? Retail worker here. Not living in the US. I can generally spot an American because they greet me with, hey, how are you? And since I usually have the standard, tired from life, retail worker expression, at first I thought they were mocking me, so I didn't know how to react. Took me a while to realize they weren't really expecting an answer, LMAO. Mind you, might just be my personal experience, but it's happened too many times for it to be a coincidence. I worked as a cashier in a touristic place in Paris. I always recognized Americans because they were kind of friendly to me and they always left tips. According to the CIA, when training to be a spy, you have to unlearn how to lean. Americans tend to lean on things when standing still. The gentle grins you give to strangers if you make eye contact with them as you pass by, at least in the Midwest, was not well received in Germany. As an American, I was expecting to get roasted in these comments. But after reading them, I can only laugh and agree. People who like Andrew Tate, why? 90% of these comments gonna be from people who don't like or aren't followers of Andrew Tate. Edit. 99.99%. Edit. 99.999999999999999999%. This seems like a sort by controversial kinda situation. When I first learned about him, I found his arguments agreeable. Paraphrased. Women aren't traditional anymore but want traditional guys. Guys are disposable mostly, unless they provide something, etc. Just off the top of my head. It made sense to me since I've had bad breakups. And my most recent one got me good. So I was sensitive to that kind of argument. Every guy has. Which I think is why he was appealing to so many guys. With those kinds of arguments. Then he started getting whack with stuff like, women are meant to be controlled, etc. Very quickly I thought he was an idiot who said just enough to keep a coherent voice. But still, he was an idiot. So initially, I liked him and thought he was making some useful arguments. But very quickly, I realized he was pretty much a textbook incel. Edit. I remember I thought, he clearly has a shit ton of money. I guess his course thing is selling well. Then, and therefore a lot of people accrually listen to this guy. So either tons of people are wrong or this guy knows what he's talking about. Quote. Fortunately, I didn't fully buy into his speech. I remember thinking, well, the real masculine thing is to figure shit out myself or talk to my dad about it for some advice. It's interesting to me that the answer to that question was, of course, crime. It wasn't that there's tons of people who agree with him and bought his course thing, therefore validating his arguments. He was a human trafficker. It's nice to see a jackass get what's coming to them. For once. This question is addressed to people who like Andrew Tate. And the top 10 plus top comments are people who don't like Andrew Tate. I took one for the team and asked my coworker, who I have a work-friendly relationship with, why he supported Andrew Tate. Keeping in mind I'm slightly biased here. His points can be sorta summarized as thus. 1. Coworker lives by traditional values that he feels are not acceptable in the dating scene anymore. And Tate gives voice to his thoughts on that manner. 2. He likes people who liberals seem to hate because he feels personally wronged by liberal policies and people. 3. He enjoys the lifestyle that Tate pushed online and wants to eventually live the same way. 4. He only likes Tate for specific things and never once looked further than what I wanted to hear. 5. He thinks that Tate being silenced is a violation of his rights to free speech. Small chuckle. He said Third Amendment. I ended my investigation here. Since lunch is only an hour and I need to hit up a vending machine real quick before my meetings. I like his message about having to work on yourself in order to reach your goals. His message at first was just how masculinity isn't a bad trait and you shouldn't be ashamed to want it. I like how he promotes martial arts and fitness. And when he allegedly got cancelled by social media, that made many people question why his thoughts in particular were deemed so controversial to warrant a ban, which for the most part were just old macho man views that most old folks would share. He is also not afraid to talk about the tricks that rich people like him use in order to not pay taxes and keep getting richer, which is a breath of fresh air and informative. Having said that, he also preyed on lonely young men and literal kids who aspired to be like him by making them subscribe to his site BS, which was supposed to make them rich but is actually a pyramid scheme. They are encouraged to spam videos of him everywhere and they are very vocal on YouTube comments section. It's a very scammy business model and many people fall for it. Also, his views on women are sexist and his view on men that don't aspire to be rich and famous is very idiotic as well. Basically, in his mind, you either aspire to be like him or you are a lesser man. He got rich by exploiting these young men and before that by running a promotion agency for women who do cam sex work, taking a cut from their profit, which isn't that bad, is basically what most OnlyFans creators do nowadays. Get an agency to help them promote their content for a cut of the profits. But this is not something most honest men would be willing to do to achieve financial success. Looking forward to see what comes out of these allegations. I hope they get him for a long time and he disappears for a while and some other content creator who shares his views on masculinity and fitness comes along without the additional baggage of being an idiot with too much money for his own good, sexist and a scammer. TLDR, some of his points aren't bad. The person that voiced them is. What is something blatantly unhealthy that society refuses to accept as unhealthy? Lack of sleep. Sleep is not for the weak, it's an essential part of your health and can impact others' lives. Driving tired, etc. Lack of work-life balance. Bragging about how little sleep, how little food you've eaten while at work. Filtering the fuck out of your every single picture of yourself to the point you don't look like the real you and people encouraging this. That's just sweeping body image issues under the rug and promoting them. Social media's influence on the polarization of perspectives. And not just in very visible political contexts. For me, it's got to be the constant glorification of busyness and overworking. Society seems to constantly praise people who are constantly busy and constantly working, even if it's to the detriment of their mental and physical health. It's like we've forgotten that rest and relaxation are important for our overall well-being. But if you try to speak out against this culture of overworking, you're often met with eye rolls or accusations of laziness. It's time for society to accept that rest is just as important as work and that it's okay to prioritize self-care. What hasn't been the same since the pandemic? My perception of time. 2020 and 2021 feel simultaneously as if they went forever but also sped past. The fact that it sort of seems like it never even happened yet I know it did. Almost like we did a time leap into an alternate more shitty universe. The price of groceries. A regular weekly shop now costs me double what it did pre-pandemic and there's no signs of things returning to a decent price anytime soon. 24-hour Walmarts. When I was bartending, some nights all I wanted to do was decompress and roam a Walmart mindlessly at 2 a.m. There are no more snow days off from work. Now it's work remotely by default. Eating out. All of my local restaurants are still closing earlier than they used to. Also, they haven't brought back menu items that they removed during the pandemic. It's kind of harder to be a night owl now. What's the worst pizza topping? Having dropped an entire pizza upside down before, the answer is the entire planet. Cheap as canned shrimp. Kiwi. People really do it. According to Poppy, it's cucumbers. Come to Asia where people regularly eat durian on pizza. You think pineapple is bad? It's nothing compared to durian. Watermelon. Hands down. Subscribe, my brothers.